Leaders are responsible for change because leaders are drivers of change. Oh, sure, change happens without the leader. Change will happen when it's forced to, because change usually happens in one of two ways. It happens out of pain, or it happens out of frustration. Oh, we reach the place where it's more painful to stay the same than it is to change, and so we change. Or we reach the place where we just can't stand the way things are, and they have to change. But every leader needs three really focused areas. Now, I'm sure there are more that could be pointed in here, but I think when you generalize the absolute necessities of change, if the leader doesn't have focus in these three areas, well, they're probably not going to see much change. As much as they want it, it's not coming. That's what I want to talk about today on Leading Leaders. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. There are a whole lot of ideas out there about how we can move the needle, how we can turn things around, how we can go another direction. Whether you're talking about elections and you're talking about policies and procedures, or you're talking about the homeless and how do we get people off the streets? How do we give them new opportunity? How do we give them a job, find them a place to stay? How do we do that? Well, there's a lot of different ideas. There's a lot of conjecture. There are a lot of people who they'll vote for one thing or vote for another thing, but really nothing happens in the end. And a lot of it comes down, I believe, to these three things. If a leader doesn't have these three things, then all the mandating in the world, all the policy changes in the world, all the recommendations from on high that could possibly be written, well, they do nothing because they don't cause change. They might point out the problem. They might even prescribe a plan. They might even give you an idea what needs to be done along the way to make change happen. But without these three things, then I don't think change will happen. So what are those three things? Well, they're in the title there, but let me give them to you so you can write them down. First, we need vision. Change doesn't happen without vision. A vision for what it could be when it's better. A vision for what things are going to look like when the problem is solved. That vision almost always comes with a deep emotional commitment to say, this is how it will feel when it's right. Now, that's not just about problems. That's often about how do we improve from where we are to the next level. If everything in my life is chugging along just like I wanted to, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say, life in relationships and my career and my education and my health and my spiritual condition, I'm a 7. I'm good. But I would like to be an 8 or a 9 or even a 10. Well, you've got to have a vision for what that looks like. How do I look at my current health and say it could be a little bit better? How do I look at my current relationship and say, well, this is what it would look like if it were better? If I were to look at my career or my education, what could make it just a little bit better? Well, without a vision, none of that's happening. Without a vision, you kind of get stuck in the status quo. You'll get up every day and do what you've always done. You'll continue to follow along on the rat treadmill or the rat race, however you want to label it. You'll just keep doing what you've been doing because, well, it's working for now. But change isn't coming until there's a vision of something better, a vision of something greater, an opportunity to do more. Maybe that motivation for that vision is the loss of a loved one. Maybe the motivation for that vision, well, it actually is the fact that you can't stand where you are. Frustration, pain. See where I'm going? Yeah, those things drive change. But without vision, they're not going to happen. Why? Well, because there's nothing to do if what I see right now is the circumstances that I'm in. If the best hope I have is to stay the same, then, well, nothing's going to change because what I see is what I already have. If you have vision, though, and you're terrified to move forward with that vision, because at the same time that you see the future in what it could be, how grand it would be, how awesome it should be, and yet you know that in order to reach that trapeze, you got to let go of the one you have now. There's this tug of war in your own mind that says, I'm afraid if I let go of the trapeze that I have now, in that interim between my life now and my life as I want it to be, what if it all goes wrong? Well, then fear sets in. And because fear has set in, you freeze where you are. Leaders who don't have courage have no activity. Leaders who don't have courage, they hold tightly to the circumstances where they are. They hold on to what is, and change isn't coming when that's the case. It's great to have a vision, to see that next trapeze, to see the next level, to know what a 9 or a 10 in your life would look like, to know what a solution, maybe for homelessness or for innovation in a new technology, to have a vision for what that looks like. That's awesome. But if you're so afraid of letting go of the circumstances you have now, of relinquishing the wins you've already accomplished, well, then the next thing, it's not coming at all. You're going to be stuck right where you are. You can be happy in that vision, but if you don't have the courage to let go, to move forward, to take the chance, to take the risk, to risk it all to be better than you were, well, then nothing's going to happen. You just have a pretty picture of a vision to look forward to. But finally, if you have great vision, you have an idea what tomorrow could look like, you know what that innovation would do for the world in the form of economics or job opportunity or solving a problem. Maybe it's a healthcare problem or a physical disability problem. Maybe it is something as big as homelessness. If you've got a vision for how to fix that, and you have the courage to actually dive in and take the risk and invest your money and invest your time and invest your relationships and your reputation, that's awesome. But intentions save no one ever. The best vision, backed by great courage, well, it's nothing until you take action. Without action, all the vision and all the courage means nothing. The best laid plans of mice and men, as the old phrase goes, are plans. They're just plans. And as we know that every time you have a plan, you have a vision, you have a mission statement, and you charge into the world with it, well, every battle plan lasts about 15 minutes after engagement with the enemy. What does that mean? That means you might have the vision and you might even have the courage to risk everything to go for it and make it happen. But chances are you're very quickly going to fail. You're going to take action, but if you don't keep taking action, then it's going to fall apart. You've got to have a vision for what that looks like. You've got to have the courage to take the risk and dive in to whatever that innovation or change, even if it's just your own personal growth, your own personal development. Once you dive into it, know this: every action you take is going to be met by an equal but opposite reaction. Every action you take will be met by an equal but opposite reaction. That's fine if you know that. What that means is when you take action, and maybe you go to the school board and go, I'd like to propose this book. Maybe you go to the local government and you say, I'd like to propose this change to our zoning districts or our retail, or I'd like to build this. Whatever those new ideas are. Maybe you go to the industry or to science and say, I think there's a better way to do that. You're going to meet resistance. It's guaranteed. Why? Because you're a leader with vision. You're a leader with courage. You're willing to take the risk, but there are other people who are not. No, they are horrified. They want only to hold on to the status quo. They don't want to let go of the old trapeze. And so you're going to have to take action, but you're going to have to take action persistently and consistently, knowing that for every action, there's an equal but opposite reaction. Once you know these things, you have a vision that you will not let go of. Hold your image. You're willing to take the risk to charge forward. You've got the courage to say, even if I risk all of my finances, even if I risk my reputation, even if I risk my own temporary happiness, the vision that I see for what change could look like when it's completed is so worth the risk that I'm diving in. And I'm going to take action. And I know that I will meet resistance, because the harder I push, the harder life will push back. It may not even be an individual or a system or a process or a policy that's resisting you. It's just life itself. Watch a seed. You put a little seed in the ground, and that little seed sometimes has to fight its way through the dirt, sometimes through the concrete. But if it knows that light is above and water is beneath, It will send roots down and leaves up until it reaches its ability to live. If the seed, if the vision inside you is equally powerful, oh yeah, you're going to meet resistance. Every action, equal but opposite reaction. But if the vision is worth it, the risk is worth it, then take the action and keep taking the action until you see it change. And if it's not worth it, go back to step one and revisit the vision. Why do you want to see the change in the first place? Who's going to be better off when the change comes? How will you implement that change? And who do you need to go along with you? And if you need somebody to help dig through your vision and recraft your vision again and again until it's so inspiring that everybody who hears it jumps on board and they're willing to take risk and take action with you, well, get a coach. You can find me on the website, jlorennorris.com. Love to sit down and chat with you about the vision that you have for the change you want to see. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.